Okay, it's going to be a review of PWG's Delivering the Goods. It's an actual show now. That's a term that people have used a lot of times in the past when describing PWG, but now the term has a double meaning. So we got PWG's Delivering the Goods from May 2022. We're about a year removed from the show. This is where Daniel Garcia became the new PWG champion. So once again, we're from the Globe Theater. And I got to say, I love the way the Globe Theater looks. I think it's actually a step up from Masita. It doesn't feel like an indie. It definitely has a unique looking feel. But obviously, the question mark is, are they ever going to recapture the connection with the fans that they had in Reseda? That's the big question mark. But I will admit there were times where Reseda felt kind of played out as well. But yeah, let's get right on to the show. We got Jack Cartwheel taking on Shane Haste in the opener. I thought it was good stuff. Once again, Cartwheel overly impresses here. If you like that style, if you like the gymnast, the Matt Cross, type of style where he's more of a acrobatic guy doing flips and taking a whole bunch of chances, the Sasuke special, everything this guy pulled off is fun to watch. The question, the other side of it though is, the side effect of it is, if you're more into guys that are combat warriors, that's not really his forte. So, but yeah, I don't mind Cartwheel. I thought this was a lot of fun. Shane Haste was impressive as well. So if you haven't seen Shane Haste, he really does look a little bit like Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, with tattoos. I think he's good though. The one-handed Liger Bomb was pretty sweet. I just thought they set a nice tone here. This was definitely a good opener. Next up, you have Aussie opening, taking on the West Coast Wrecking Crew of Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. First time seeing the West Coast Wrecking Crew. All right, so lots of good double team moves here. Lots of great teamwork. They took chances. Lots of creativity in terms of the cohesiveness with the double team offense. But the match as a whole, not the best of chemistry. It did feel like they gave these guys a little bit too much time. But I will say this. I think Kyle Fletcher has gotten a lot better. I watched Bola 2019. He was in some attraction tag matches there. He just looks a lot better now. So that's definitely one thing I'll notice about Aussie Open. I think when you first saw them in AEW, I was blown away by their, some of their offense and their finisher in particular. Like when you see them more and more, it becomes routine. But, I'm not going to lie. They got some really, really nice double team moves and finishing maneuvers. So Aussie Open, goes over in about 16, 17 minutes, which was a little bit on the long side. And then we move on to Jonathan Gresham taking on Kevin Blackwood. Okay, so Kevin Blackwood, the Crippler, he's got a lot of tattoos, very, 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 very skinny. I would actually compare him to Davey Richards. You could definitely see the Davey influence here with the kicks and the strikes. It was great stuff. Lots of great strikes between Gresham and Blackwood. Lots of pinning predicaments that came out of nowhere. It was really, really good stuff. I do feel like Gresham has gotten a lot better over the years, and he was able to show it here. The finish actually comes where Gresham actually has him in a kind of a modified version of the figure four. It doesn't necessarily put it on, but he's able to pin him while he has the figure four about to be locked in. So I thought that was a really, really good pin right there. So Gresham and Blackwood. Really, really intense battle right there. There were a little bit of overrated chants to Jonathan Gresham. At this time, he was Ring of Honor champion. He was also carrying another belt. I'm not sure what the other championship was. But yeah, that was a great matchup right there. I just thought, you had two smaller guys that are able to, go on the mat and they're able to strike. And it actually turned out really, really well. So don't sleep on it. I thought it was really good. Next up, we got Takeshita. Konosuke Takeshita making his PWG debut against Aramis. Yeah, they only got 10 minutes here, which, it felt like it got more time than it actually got. But yeah, great stuff, man. Aramis is a hell of a talent, hell of a high flyer, hell of a luchador. This dude was actually a big fan of PWG growing up, apparently. And yeah, I thought Takeshita looked awesome here. You know, his offense really, set this crowd on fire. So this is a nice momentum building for momentum builder for Takeshita as he was going to get the title shot at PWG 19. But yeah, Takeshita pulled out the whole arsenal here against Aramis. Next up, you got Black Taurus taking on Blake Christian. I didn't think it was that great. You know, Christian definitely had his moments here. But ultimately, Black Taurus just dominated the match. This was definitely the Black Taurus show. And, he's able to put him away in under 10 minutes. That one spot where it's Black Taurus doing a gorilla press to Blake Christian. When he did the Vinkingo actually flipped in midair during it. But in this one, he just kind of dropped Blake Christian. Christian was good though, man. You know, he put up a hell of a fight, but this was really just about Taurus just being dominant and overpowering him with, Samoan drops, gorilla presses, and obviously the crucifix bomb. So, a good while it lasted. Next up, we got Biff Busick taking on Mike Bailey. So Biff Busick actually comes out with the Super Dragon mask. Apparently, he's still got some beef and unsettled business with Super Dragon. And him and Mike Bailey have a match right here that's, pretty much a slugfest. Lots of strikes, lots of just Biff being a heel, opportunistic. And it was good. It just, Bailey actually wasn't able to really empty the tank here with his explosiveness and his high flying. He was able to counter the baseball slide into the big moonsault. That was probably the highlight from Bailey. But there were some really, really nice strikes. And obviously, Busick goes over Bailey. And it kind of deflated the crowd a little bit. But, this really had a lot of potential. I would definitely like to see a rematch. So Biff Busick actually challenges the PWG champion after the match is over. And we're going to move on to the main event. We got Bandido taking on Daniel Garcia. So Bandido must have been PWG champion for a really long time. I guess by default, you could call him the longest reigning PWG champion because he held the belt, I believe, during the whole pandemic. But give him credit too. He even, defended the belt throughout 2021. So yeah, he's a PWG champion. He's an ROH champion. There's not many guys that have been able to hold both belts. Bryan Danielson comes to mind, as well as Roderick Strong. I don't know, like some people have said this, and I kind of agree. Like if Bandido's not in the ring with someone that he's comfortable with, sometimes he could look kind of average. I wouldn't say he looked average here, but I just feel like Bandido is able to showcase the full arsenal, when he's wrestling, guys like Dragon Lee, guys like that he can communicate better with. I mean, there was some really, really good trash talking from Bandido here. After he was selling multiple injuries, he really, showed a lot of fire here against Garcia, from a verbal standpoint, which is good. I think you need to show that from time to time. But, in between Bola and this show, Garcia was going through a lot of changes with the Jericho Appreciation Society. And, the Jericho Appreciation Society was only around for a couple months. I think they had just started after Revolution in March. So at this point, Garcia is really selling the fact that he's not a wrestler. He's an entertainer. And, he did not wrestle this match as hard as he wrestled at Bola. You could definitely see he was just, being a little bit more methodical here, just really kind of, being a little bit more ground and pound, being an asshole, being a prick, being a cheap shot artist. So I just don't think the match lived up to its potential. I just don't think this was the best version of Garcia, but it was still good. I think what really helped this match out was that the PWG title had not changed hands in a really long time. So there was a lot of good anticipation for the finish. Garcia actually used the Walls of Jericho. He used the Judas effect, and he couldn't get it done. But ultimately, he put Bandido away with the sharpshooter. When Bandido tapped out, the fans were a little bit surprised. But it was good, though. Bandido was able to hit a torture rack off the top rope. You know, it's almost like a Death Valley driver off the top rope. That was probably the high spot of the night. But I don't know. It just felt like Bandido never really got into a groove here, into a rhythm. This is just more about Garcia, you know, being a cheap shot artist, getting a low blow behind the referee's back, that type of match. So it's a tough sell. I don't know how many people are going to, you know, want to go out and buy this show. It's definitely a good show. I mean, everything was good on this show. I really, really enjoyed it. I mean, the Takeshita match was sweet. Him and Aramis I thought they had great chemistry. You know, Busick and Bailey was more of a strike fest rather than a spot fest. And, you know, Garcia and Bandido, it wasn't like anything that I think you're going to want to go back to, but it definitely felt like the title felt important. You know, Garcia actually, you know, cut a promo after the match is over as the new PWG champion and just, you know, telling everybody that, you know, he's not a pro wrestler. He's an entertainer. He respects pro wrestling, but the bottom line is if you want to make money, you got to be an entertainer, you know, that type of thing. And then Takeshita comes out and, you know, he actually just, you know, offers Takeshita the title shot. He said, Takeshita's not going to be here for very long, so I'm going to give him the title shot right now. And Takeshita comes out and says he's going to be the new PWG champion. I don't know. For some reason, I found it very engaging, the post-match celebration here. So, yeah, big up to Bandido, though. You know, he was PWG champion for, you know, almost 3 years when you think about it. So I don't know if you really want to count the reign because of the pandemic right there. But yeah, that's PWG Delivering the Goods. I'm only going to upload this if I could combine it with another PWG show. Hopefully they upload PWG DINK, you know, soon, because I don't know. I thought the show was good. I just don't see there being a lot of interest in this show for a single show review, but I don't know. Maybe that's how I'll go. I don't even know. But that's PWG Delivering the Goods. A lot to like on this show. Everything was really, really good. But I wouldn't say there's one match that you have to jump out of your way and watch right away. So, yeah, Garcia becomes the new Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Champion. Okay, it's going to be a review of PWG DINK. DINK. I think it's very important not to judge a show by its cover and not to judge a show by its name. I think that there's been times when PWG has had some really, really weird titles. But I just want to be clear. This show is actually named after a fan, a hardcore PWG fan that passed away in August of 2022. I believe his name was Alan Dinkerton. So his nickname was Dink. So that would explain the title. I know when some people see this, they might think of Doink the Clown or, you know, Donkey Kong Country or whatever. But yeah, this was a PWG show from November 6th, 2022 from the Globe Theater once again. I got to say, man, I thought this show was really, really on its way. I really, really enjoyed this show. However, there was some stuff that was kind of disappointing on it. But yeah, let's get right down to it. First match tonight, you got Ray Horus taking on Titus Alexander and Myron Reed. So this was a nice combination right here. And I'll tell you, like, watching this on DVD, watching it on the computer, I don't think it does it justice. I think this is the kind of match you need to be there live for. Obviously, when you throw three guys out there, you have them wrestle a triple threat match without a story. It's very hard to get invested. But I could just see myself being wowed by this if I was in the front row, because you had a lot of really good talent here. The unknown is Myron Reed. I don't think I've ever seen him before, but he was impressive. He reminded me, his look reminded me of Cisco, a really athletic black dude with, bleached blonde hair. Definitely has that type of physique and look to him. And really, really athletic. Busted out a lot of nice insecurities. Titus Alexander busted out a beautiful chaos theory. Ray Horus stole the show, though. He was the high flyer of the match. He goes over here with what Excalibur actually called a territorial driver. It's almost like an inverted sunset flip from the top rope. It looked really, really, really cool. So lots of good talent here. I thought this was highly entertaining, to say the least. All right, next up we have the Dark Order From AEW of Evil Uno and Stu Grayson taking on the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Yeah, I thought this was good. It had its ups, it had its downs. I'll say this. All right, so this must have been one of the first times we've seen the Super Smash Brothers back in PWG in quite some time. So, you know, with Uno and Grayson going to AEW, obviously you can't use the name Super Smash Brothers. I don't know if it's just them getting old or if them changing the gimmicks, but, you know, the magic quite isn't there with what they did as a Super Smash Brothers. And I'll tell you, when you go back to DDT4 2012, that might have been the best DDT4 ever. And that lineup was not as stacked as 2011. I'll tell you, 2011's DDT4 was so stacked that I couldn't even do the review because it was just too much good wrestling. For whatever reason, it just didn't come out right. So I just uploaded the ratings. But DDT4 2012 with the Super Smash Brothers, I mean, they really brought it for that tournament. So not quite the magic of the Super Smash Brothers, but I still thought this had its moments. You still saw a lot of the magic between the Dark Order. There were some weird things going on here with Evil Uno not being on the right corner to make the tag. West Coast Wrecking Crew, once again, I just think they have really, really good teamwork. They have a lot of nice cohesion with their double team moves, a lot of nice assists from them. So it's always good to see two guys wrestling as a tag team. The West Coast Wrecking Crew, that's obviously inspired by Dr. Dre's, getting a start into the music industry with the world-class Wrecking Crew. So Dre's from the West Coast, they're on the West Coast, so they kind of combine the names. I get the feeling that's where the title came from. Jay-Z even ghost wrote it for Dre and still DRE, so it's a very famous line from Dr. Dre as well. So, yeah, man, I thought this was a good match, but there were moments where it really, really dragged. But I'm not going to lie, it did have some really, really, really sweet sequences. All right, next we have Masha Slamovich taking on Jordynne Grace in a rematch from Bound for Glory. So, yeah, really cool. Excalibur actually plugs the Bound for Glory match, which was surprising to me because you would think Impact and AEW are competition, but at this point, I think it's more beneficial for professional wrestling companies to acknowledge other companies. I just think it's better for everybody. I think everybody wins that way. So I really enjoyed, the fact that Excalibur, gave props to the Bound for Glory match. I think I liked the Bound for Glory match a lot better. Some people weren't as high on the Bound for Glory match as I was. So you might like this thing better. The thing about the Bound for Glory match is I went into that not knowing that Jordynne Grace was this good. Maybe she had gotten better since the last time I've seen her, but she blew me away in the Bound for Glory match. So my expectations were a little bit higher here. So Masha Slamovich actually goes over. She gets her first PWG victory, but the Bound for Glory match might have gotten more time, but you still saw a very physical battle, very competitive, just a lot of hard-hitting offense, tons of power drivers, tons of German suplexes. They just beat the crap out of each other. And, it's one of the challenges that I think a lot of these podcasts have, and even myself. It's like, how do you talk about a women's match in PWG and get females interested? And it's a little bit deflating when you see the female demographic. Like, I think even Conrad said, 2%. Like, for someone like me, it's probably like 0.1%. I mean, the last time a female actually commented on one of my videos, it might have been like a girl that grew up listening to Naughty by Nature or something like that. So very rarely would a female comment on a wrestling video. More likely it would be a WWE video, but it's just tough, man. It's almost the equivalent of, I'm going to use the gangster rap analogy. So C. Dolores Tucker, she actually, wanted, to ban gangster rap and start promoting children's rap. But, Michael Harris, actually had a great soundbite that he said from prison during the Death Row documentary. He was the funder of Death Row. He said that it's just somewhat impossible if you were ever going to make that transition. And I kind of just get the same feeling. It's just really, really hard to get females interested in independent wrestling shows. So I just think it's a no-win situation. But hey, you know, Masha, Slamovich, and Jordynne Grace, really, really good match right here. Lots of hard-hitting offense. I'll tell you, the Gigatonic pile driver that I think it was Jordynne Grace pulled off, really, really sweet. You know, once again, I love their work right here. And once again, you know, they put Masha on the cover. So, you know, it's almost like if you deliver in PWG, you'll get on the cover. So, good match right there. Next up, we have Aramis, Bandido, and Komander taking on Arez, Black Taurus, and Latigo. Once again, we get another six-man lucha match. You know, I've talked about, you know, some of these previous, you know, Lucha Libres six-man matches. There was one at the Gringo Loco show that was really good. There was also one at WrestleCon. I'll tell you, this was actually much better than both of those matches. The teams were clearly defined here. You had the more athletic, you know, more high flyers as the babyface team with Aramis, Bandido, and Komander. You had more of the bulky, you know, bigger guys on the heel team, and it just really, really, really worked. Bandido was really, really cool here. He spoke in English, and he put over that PWG is the best company, and this is more of an introduction for Komander. This is the first time a lot of these guys have ever wrestled in PWG. Latigo as well. But yeah, everybody looked great here. This must have been Komander's coming out party because his offense was explosive. Bandido, this was more of him just being more of a, you know, if he wrestled in Dragon Gate, I think he did wrestle in Dragon Gate. You know, you could definitely see his style working in Dragon Gate from a match like this. Everybody got shine in this match. The highlight of the match is the simultaneous Black Taurus gorilla press off the top rope. And at the same time, Bandido does a fall away suplex where the guy flips in midair off the top rope. That was the highlight of the whole match. But everything just flowed really, really well here. A lot of people are going to think this is the match of the night, but great stuff. I thought this blew away the other two lucha matches from WrestleMania weekend. It just had a better crowd, more action, better atmosphere. So definitely check it out. I know it might sound a little bit repetitive, but by this point, and it's funny because this happened first, but by this point, I really felt a lot more connected to everybody out there. It really felt like each and every one brought their own style to the match. Even Latigo looked great here. Everybody looked good. So definitely check it out. All right, next up we have Davey Richards. Davey Richards taking on Shane Haste. And what was kind of a disappointing match. I didn't think it was bad. I thought this was good. This felt like more of a sparring session than anything. Davey is a lot smaller than Shane Haste. And so it's funny. He was really going to work, you know, trying to pick him apart by the knee. He put him in, you know, kind of like a modified version of Indian Deathlock. I was going to say Mudalock, but I don't think that's correct. I think it was more of a different version of an Indian Deathlock. You know, Shane Haste actually got the upper hand and, you know, gave Davey some devastating suplexes. But ultimately, after trying to stay away from the ankle lock, Davey puts Shane Haste away and makes him tap out with the ankle lock in kind of like an anticlimactic finish. But, you know, I don't think the match was really great for Shane Haste. Like, he didn't take the, you know, you would think against someone like Davey, he would have taken the next step. I can't say that he did that, but the match was still good, though. I think Shane Haste has a lot of potential. It just didn't hit the next level for me. There just wasn't enough explosion and oomph to this, but I thought Davey still looked pretty good, man. And I know Davey's kind of gone back and forth in the past about retiring, you know, possibly going to be a paramedic. Now I'm hearing that he might have some family issues. He's going through a divorce, so he's leaving for an extended time. But hey, man, if Davey decides to hang it up, he's had a great career. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, you know, how much money he's walking away with. Ask Chris Benoit if the money really made that much of a difference for him. You know, you can't take that money with you. So if Davey's able to hang it up now and get out clean without, you know, killing himself. Davey actually made the comment of, you know, the two guys people compare me to, one of them's dead and one of them's in a wheelchair, and I don't want to be one of those guys. So to me, Davey's one of the greatest of all time. To me, he's a Hall of Famer, and he's one of the top, arguably 25 wrestlers I've ever seen. I know some people might disagree with that, but it is what it is. So Davey and Shane Haste, kind of disappointing, but I still enjoyed it. All right, next up we have Mike Bailey taking on Lio Rush. What was a really, really good match right here. It's not going to be for everybody. Lio Rush was very methodical in the beginning, really just giving Mike Bailey just a lot of blows, a lot of punches, really just kind of stalking him, just really being, it's hard to explain, but he was really just being methodical and just very calculating in his approach right here. It actually made for a pretty good story. You know, once he started to go, you know, toe-to-toe with Mike Bailey in terms of exchanging kicks, that's where he kind of ran into trouble, and Mike Bailey ended up putting him away. The highlight of the match for me was Lio Rush countering the Flamingo driver into a roll-up. That was a sweet counter, and Lio Rush did have some really, really good transitions and sequences with his kicks. So he's a hell of a talent, but you know, he was trying to tell more of a story here. This was more of a methodical approach rather than just a sprint or a spot fest. And it was good, man. Mike Bailey with another babyface Vince's victory right here. And he puts Lio Rush away with a Flamingo driver off the top rope. Very satisfying match right there. Definitely one of the top three matches, probably the third best match of the night. And we move on to the main event. We got Daniel Garcia defending the Pro Wrestling Guerrilla Championship against Jonathan Gresham. I thought this match had loads of potential. I thought this had potential to set the world on fire, considering the talents involved. Garcia's in a place right now where he's playing a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, a sports entertainer. And at the same time, Gresham is, you know, he's coming off of, losing the Ring of Honor World title. And, you know, I thought this Terminus thing was going to be a promotion that would have some consistency to it. It doesn't look like that would happen at that point. So maybe he was going through something at the time. These two guys just didn't click. It just never got going. Gresham never really got into a rhythm. This featured just a lot of ground and pound, a lot of striking, a lot of, leg scissors and triangle chokes with guys just really not getting any leverage, lots of trash talking, lots of bickering, lots of arguing, and it just never really got going. It really didn't. Garcia tried to lock on the Dragon Tamer, which is kind of a modified version of a sharpshooter, inside the crowd. Just couldn't get Gresham locked in there. I can't say that it ever got, there was one sequence where it ended up being more of a chop fest with Gresham actually winning. And then all of a sudden Garcia was able to hit a backdrop driver. Then he followed it up with a pile driver. And then he was able to lock Gresham in the Dragon Tamer. And it looked like Gresham was going to get to the rope. And ending was pretty cool, though. Like right before, Gresham was able to get out of it. Garcia just kind of, stretched back on it just a little bit, just to give him more pressure. And then it just shocked everybody. Gresham just taps. But I respected what they did here. It did have some nice grappling, did have some nice strikes, was pretty stiff, but it just never got into that, then Gresham never got into a rhythm. It just wasn't very fluid. I just felt like both guys could have gave you something better. You could argue that they gave you something different here. But yeah, this wasn't a match that's going to make people want to go out and spend money on this company. And I just don't think the match did anything for Garcia as a champion. But obviously you have to understand he's playing a wrestler that's trying to be more of an entertainer as opposed to a wrestler. So it kind of makes sense. I just wish that, PWG wouldn't, take in these AEW storylines with their product. I just don't think it's completely necessary if PWG is not allowed to promote. And, they're not promoting on AEW television, so I just find it pointless. But at the same time, it's still a great show. I still thought this show from start to finish was very, very consistent. If the main event had just lived up to its expectations, this would have been an awesome show. I can't say that it's totally recommended, but yeah, definitely check it out. And rest in peace to Dink, obviously Excalibur. Thought highly of him enough to name the show after him. So. Yeah, that's PWG Dink, and I'm out. All right.